They say Alzheimer's steals your memories, but what they don't tell you is how it reveals the truth about the people around you. My daughter Sarah told me those words 3 weeks before her wedding. Your Alzheimer's will embarrass us. She said it while looking at her phone, not even meeting my eyes, as if I was already a ghost in my own life. I stood there in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I raised her, where I taught her to make pancakes on Sunday mornings, where I held her when her father left us, and I felt something crack inside my chest. Not my heart breaking, no, something sharper, something that cut through the fog that had been wrapping around my mind for months. I am 72 years old, and yes, I forget things now. I forget where I put my reading glasses. I forget if I already took my medicine. Sometimes I forget what day it is or why I walked into a room, but I have never forgotten what it feels like to be treated like you are already dead. I have never forgotten the sound of your own child deciding you are too broken to be loved in public. Sarah had always been ambitious, always worried about appearances, always concerned with what people thought. She married a man from a wealthy family, the kind of people who vacation in places I cannot pronounce and wear watches that cost more than my house. I understood she wanted everything perfect for her wedding. I understood she was stressed. But when she sat me down that Tuesday afternoon and told me it would be better if I stayed home, that Grandma Rose could embarrass them with my condition, that I might forget where I am, or say something inappropriate in front of her new in-laws, I felt something inside me wake up, something fierce, something that refused to disappear quietly into the fog. I looked at my daughter, this woman I grew inside my body, this child I sacrificed everything for, and I made a decision. I would go to that wedding, not to cause a scene, not to embarrass anyone, but to show up, to exist, to refuse to be erased. The next 3 weeks were strange. Sarah stopped calling. She sent her sister Michelle to check on me instead, and Michelle cried when she walked through my door. "Mom," she whispered, holding my hands. Sarah didn't mean it like that. She is just overwhelmed. But I saw the truth in Michelle's eyes too, the worry, the fear that I would show up anyway and ruin everything. They had already decided I was the problem. They had already written me out of the story. I spent those weeks in a kind of clarity I had not felt in months. It was as if my anger burned away the clouds in my mind. I remembered everything, every sacrifice, every late night working 2 jobs to keep Sarah in dance classes and summer camps. Every time I went without, so she could have more. Every moment I chose her happiness over my own. And I remembered something else too. Something that had been buried under years of trying to be the perfect mother, the perfect grandmother, the perfect woman who never makes anyone uncomfortable. I remembered that I still mattered, that my life was not over just because my memory was failing, that I deserved to be seen. The day of the wedding arrived bright and clear. I woke up early, and I knew exactly what I was doing. Some people might have thought the Alzheimer's was making me confused, making me act irrationally, but I have never been more certain of anything in my life. I put on my best dress, the blue one with the silver embroidery that my late mother gave me 40 years ago. I did my hair, I put on lipstick, I looked in the mirror, and I saw myself. Not the diagnosis, not the failing mind, just Rose, just me, still here, still alive, still worthy of taking up space in this world. I took a taxi to the venue, a sprawling estate with white columns and gardens that looked like something from a magazine. The ceremony was outside, rows of white chairs facing an arch covered in flowers that probably cost more than I made in a year. I arrived just as it was starting. I could see Sarah at the end of the aisle in her white dress, radiant and beautiful, and so focused on her perfect day. I walked slowly through the garden, my cane tapping against the stone path, and I found a seat in the very back row. An older gentleman moved over to make room for me, smiling kindly. "Beautiful ceremony," he whispered. I nodded. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I watched my daughter marry her wealthy man. I watched her smile and laugh and kiss him while everyone clapped. I watched her move through her reception like a queen, greeting guests, posing for photos, dancing with her new husband under lights strung between the trees. And I sat at my table in the back, table 17, far from the family section, next to people I did not know. They tried to make conversation. They asked how I knew the bride. "I am her mother," I said simply. Their faces changed. Confusion, awkwardness. They had clearly been told the bride's mother was not attending. One woman even said, "Oh, I thought Sarah's mother had passed." I smiled. "Not yet," I said. "Not yet." I did not cause a scene. I did not forget where I was, or say anything inappropriate. I sat quietly and ate my dinner, and watched my daughter celebrate the most important day of her life, surrounded by 200 people, and never once look toward the back of the room where I sat, never once seek out my face in the crowd. It was as if I really had become invisible, as if her words had made it true. Your Alzheimer's will embarrass us. I was the embarrassment she had tried to hide, but I was here anyway. I existed anyway. The evening wore on, and the speeches began. The best man told funny stories. The maid of honor cried. Sarah's new father-in-law gave a toast about family and legacy, and building a future together. He welcomed Sarah into their family with words that felt rehearsed and polished. And then there was a pause. The DJ announced that the mother of the bride would like to say a few words. I felt my breath catch. I had not prepared anything. I had not told anyone I was coming. But then I saw her, Michelle, my younger daughter, standing at the microphone with tears streaming down her face. Our mother, Michelle said, her voice shaking, could not be here tonight, but I want to honor her anyway. I want to tell you all about the woman who raised us, who worked herself to exhaustion to give us everything, who taught us about love and sacrifice and strength. Mom, wherever you are, we love you. I felt something break inside me then, not anger, something deeper. Michelle did not know I was here. She thought she was honoring my absence, trying to make up for Sarah's cruelty, trying to speak my name into a room that had been told to forget me. I stood up. My legs felt weak, but I stood anyway. I walked toward the front of the room, my cane tapping against the floor, and I heard the crowd go silent. I saw Michelle's face change from grief to shock. I saw Sarah turn from where she was standing with her new husband, her expression transforming from confusion to horror to something I could not name. I reached the microphone and Michelle stepped aside, her hand covering her mouth. I looked out at 200 faces staring at me, strangers and family and everyone in between, and I spoke. I am Rose, I said, Sarah's mother. I was told my Alzheimer's would embarrass you tonight. I was told it would be better if I stayed home, that I might forget where I am or say the wrong thing or make people uncomfortable with my condition. I paused and I could hear my own breathing in the microphone, but I am here anyway, because I wanted my daughter to know something. I wanted her to know that I remember. I remember every moment I spent raising her, every sacrifice I made, every time I put her needs before my own. I remember holding her when she was sick and celebrating her achievements and believing in her even when she did not believe in herself. And I also remember the moment she decided I was not worth the risk, the moment she chose her image over my presence, the moment she erased me from the most important day of her life because my imperfect brain might tarnish her perfect celebration. The room was so quiet I could hear the wind moving through the trees. I remember all of that, I continued. My voice was steady now, strong, and I want everyone here to know that Alzheimer's may take my memories eventually. It may take my words and my recognition and my sense of self, but it has not taken my dignity. It has not taken my worth, and it will never take away the fact that I showed up today, not to ruin anything, but to exist, to be seen, to remind my daughter that I am still her mother, still alive, still here. I stepped back from the microphone. The silence stretched, and then Sarah moved. She walked toward me, and I thought she might yell or cry or ask me to leave, but instead, she stopped a few feet away, and her face crumpled. Mom, she whispered, I am so sorry. I did not know if that was true. I did not know if she was sorry or just embarrassed that her cruelty had been exposed in front of everyone she was trying to impress. But I nodded. I forgive you, I said quietly, because that is what mothers do. We forgive even when it costs us everything. Have you ever been made to feel invisible by the people who are supposed to love you most? Have you ever watched someone you sacrificed everything for decide you are too broken, too inconvenient, too embarrassing to deserve a place at their table? If you have felt this pain, if you have experienced the heartbreak of being erased by your own family, I want you to know you are not alone. There are so many of us who live with conditions that make others uncomfortable, who are pushed aside and hidden away because we do not fit the perfect picture anymore. I am sharing my story because I need you to know that your existence matters. Your presence matters. You are not defined by what you have lost or forgotten. You are defined by your courage to keep showing up anyway. Please, leave a comment right now. Type these words. I will not be invisible. I will not be erased. Let us build a community of people who refuse to disappear quietly. Let us remind each other that we are still here, still valuable, still worthy of love and respect no matter what our minds or bodies do. Your comment will help someone else feel less alone today. It will remind them that they matter. Please share your story with us. Let us hold each other up. Type it now. I will not be invisible. I will not be erased. After my speech, the wedding continued, but everything had changed. Sarah could not look at me. She moved through the rest of the evening like a ghost herself, her perfect celebration now marked by the truth she had tried to hide. Some guests came up to me afterward. Some hugged me. Some told me I was brave. Others avoided eye contact and whispered to each other, probably discussing whether I had ruined everything or revealed something necessary. I did not stay long. I called my taxi and left before the cake was cut. I had said what I needed to say. I had existed in the space that tried to exclude me. That was enough. Michelle called me the next morning, crying again. "Mom," she said, "I had no idea you were coming. I would have saved you a seat at the front. I would have made sure you were honored properly." "I know, sweetheart," I told her. "You are a good daughter. You tried to speak for me when you thought I was silent, but I needed to speak for myself. I needed Sarah to hear my voice." We talked for a long time that morning. Michelle told me that Sarah had locked herself in the bridal suite after I left and cried for hours, that her new husband did not understand what had happened, that the whole family was in chaos trying to process what I had done. "Did I ruin her wedding?" I asked. Michelle was quiet for a moment. "No," she finally said. "You told the truth. That is not the same thing." Days passed, then weeks. Sarah did not call. I went back to my life, my little house, my routines that sometimes made sense and sometimes dissolved into confusion. The Alzheimer's was still there. I still forgot things. I still had moments where I could not remember what year it was or where I had put my keys, but something had shifted inside me. I had taken back a piece of myself. I had refused to be erased, and that felt more important than any memory I might lose. It was 5 weeks after the wedding when Sarah finally came to see me. She knocked on my door on a Tuesday afternoon, and when I opened it, she looked smaller somehow, diminished. "Mom," she said, "can I come in?" We sat in my living room, the same room where I had raised her, and she cried. She cried like she had not cried since she was a little girl. She told me she was ashamed, that she had been so focused on impressing her new in-laws, on creating this perfect image, that she forgot what actually mattered. She told me that after I left the wedding, her husband's mother had pulled her aside and said, "Your mother is a remarkable woman. You should be proud to have her." And Sarah realized that in trying to hide me, she had revealed something much more embarrassing about herself, her values, her priorities, her willingness to abandon the person who loved her most. I listened to all of this, and I felt many things: anger, sadness, relief, love. They all mixed together in my chest like a storm. "Sarah," I finally said, "I do not know how much time I have left before this disease takes more of me. I do not know if I will remember this conversation next month or next year, but I need you to understand something. I will always be your mother, always. Whether you are ashamed of me or proud of me, whether I remember your name or not, that does not change. But you have to decide what kind of daughter you want to be. You have to decide if you can love me as I am now, not as I used to be, not as you wish I was, as I am." She promised she would try. She promised to visit more, to include me, to stop hiding me from her new life. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust that my speech had changed something fundamental. But I also knew that people do not transform overnight, that fear and shame run deep, that it is easier to make promises than to keep them. And I knew something else too. Something I had learned in those 3 weeks of burning clarity before the wedding. I did not need Sarah's approval to matter. I did not need her to validate my existence. I was enough on my own. The months that followed were complicated. Sarah did visit more often. She brought her husband a few times. He was kind to me, asked me questions about my life, seemed genuinely interested in knowing me. Sarah was trying. I could see her effort, but I could also see the fear in her eyes every time I forgot something, the way she would glance at her husband when I repeated myself, the subtle tension in her shoulders when I struggled to find a word. She was still embarrassed. She was just better at hiding it now. Michelle continued to call me every day. She became my anchor. She helped me set up reminders on my phone for my medications. She took me to my doctor appointments. She sat with me on the hard days when the confusion was so thick I could barely see through it. She never made me feel like a burden. She never treated me like I was already gone, and I held on to that. I held on to her love like a lifeline. One afternoon, about 6 months after the wedding, I was sitting in my garden. I loved my garden. The roses and the lavender and the tomatoes I tried to grow every summer. I was pulling weeds when I heard someone call my name. Rose! I looked up and saw a woman standing at my gate. She was about my age, maybe a little younger, with silver hair and kind eyes. I am sorry to bother you, she said, but I saw a video of you from your daughter's wedding. Someone recorded your speech and it has been shared online. I just wanted to tell you that it meant everything to me. My son has been trying to put me in a home. He says I am too much work, too difficult. But your words reminded me that I have the right to speak up, that I matter, that I can refuse to be invisible. I invited her in for tea. Her name was Dorothy. We talked for hours. She told me about her life, her struggles, her fear of losing herself. I told her about mine. And when she left, she hugged me tight and said, "Thank you for being brave. Thank you for showing up." That was the first visitor, but not the last. Over the following months, more people found me. Women and men living with Alzheimer's or dementia or other conditions that made their families uncomfortable. People who had been pushed aside and hidden away and told they were too embarrassing to include. They came to my little house with its garden and its worn furniture, and they shared their stories. We formed a kind of community, a group of people who refused to be erased. We met every Thursday afternoon. Sometimes there were 5 of us, sometimes 15. We drank tea and talked and reminded each other that we were still here, still valuable, still alive. Some days I led the conversation, other days I could barely follow it. My mind was getting worse. The fog was thicker now. There were whole afternoons I lost to confusion. Mornings I woke up and did not know where I was. But my friends understood. They held space for me even when I could not hold space for myself. Sarah came to one of the Thursday meetings. I had invited her many times, and she had always made excuses. Too busy, too much work, maybe next time. But finally she came. She sat quietly in the corner and listened to us talk. Listened to Dorothy describe how her children fought over who had to take her for the holidays, like she was a chore to be divided. Listened to Robert talk about his grandchildren who were afraid of him now because he sometimes forgot their names. Listened to Margaret cry about the way her husband looked at her like she was a stranger. And I watched Sarah's face change. I watched her realize that I was not alone in this, that there was a whole world of people living with the same pain, the same erasure, the same determination to keep existing anyway. After everyone left, Sarah helped me clean up. She washed the teacups in silence. Finally, she said, "Mom, I did not understand. I did not know how many people were going through this, how common it is, how much it hurts." I nodded. "Now you do," I said. "Now you know." The video of my wedding speech kept spreading. I did not really understand how the internet worked, but Michelle showed me sometimes. "Millions of views," she said. "People are calling you an inspiration. They are saying you changed how they think about Alzheimer's. They are sharing their own stories because of you." It felt strange to be known for the worst moment of my relationship with my daughter. Strange to have my pain turned into something public. But if it helped other people feel less alone, then maybe it was worth it. Maybe my embarrassment, my refusal to be hidden, had created something bigger than myself. A movement, a conversation, a reminder that people with failing minds and bodies are still people, still deserving of dignity and love and presence. I started receiving letters, actual letters in the mail, people from all over the country writing to tell me their stories. Some were heartbreaking. Adult children who had cut off their parents, spouses who had abandoned their partners, families torn apart by the fear and shame of cognitive decline, but others were hopeful. People who had reconciled after seeing my speech, families who had decided to include their loved ones instead of hiding them, children who had apologized and changed and chosen love over image. I kept every letter in a box in my closet. On my bad days, when I could not remember why I was upset or what I was fighting for, Michelle would read them to me. She would remind me of what I had done, of the people I had helped, of the difference my voice had made. It anchored me. It gave me purpose even as I lost pieces of myself. 2 years after the wedding, Sarah told me she was pregnant. I was going to be a grandmother again. She came to my house to share the news, nervous and excited. "Mom," she said, "I want you to be part of this baby's life. I want them to know you, really know you, not the version of you I was ashamed of, the real you, all of you." I cried. I had been waiting so long to hear those words, waiting for her to see me fully, to choose me even with my broken brain and my embarrassing condition. She meant it too. Throughout her pregnancy, Sarah visited every week. She brought me to her ultrasound appointments. She asked my advice about baby names and nursery colors. She introduced me to her friends and her in-laws without hesitation, without the fear I used to see in her eyes. She had changed. Not completely, not perfectly, but enough. Enough that I could feel her love again. Enough that I believed she truly wanted me in her life. The baby was born on a spring morning, a little girl with dark hair and perfect tiny fingers. Sarah named her Rose, after me. When she told me I could not speak, I just held that baby and cried and felt something I had not felt in years. Hope, pure, uncomplicated hope. Little Rose became the light of my life. Even as my memory got worse, even as I started to lose more and more of myself, I knew her. I always knew her. Some mornings I would wake up confused, not sure where I was or what year it was, but then I would see her picture on my table and I would remember, my granddaughter, my namesake, my reason to keep fighting through the fog. Sarah brought her to visit me several times a week. We would sit in the garden together, little Rose crawling through the grass, and Sarah would tell me about her life. Sometimes I understood everything she said. Sometimes I only caught pieces, but it did not matter. We were together. That was enough. The Thursday meetings continued, though I could no longer lead them. Dorothy took over, keeping our community alive and growing. Sometimes I attended and contributed. Other times I sat quietly, lost in my own mind, just grateful to be included. No one ever made me feel like a burden. No one ever suggested I should stay home to avoid embarrassing myself. They knew what I had fought for. They honored it by making space for me exactly as I was. Michelle remained my constant. She moved in with me eventually, when it became clear I could not live alone anymore. She took care of me with such tenderness, such patience. She never once made me feel like an obligation. She treated me like I was still her mother, still the woman who had raised her, even when I could not remember her name. I am writing this now on one of my clear days. The fog has lifted temporarily, and I can see everything with sharp, painful clarity. I know these days are becoming rarer. I know soon there will be more confusion than lucidity, more forgetting than remembering. But I also know something else. I know that I mattered, that I fought to be seen, that I refused to be invisible even when my own daughter tried to erase me. And that fight changed everything. It changed Sarah. It changed me. It changed hundreds of people who saw my speech, or came to my Thursday meetings, or wrote me letters. It reminded all of us that our lives have value beyond what we can remember or accomplish or contribute, that we deserve to exist simply because we are here, simply because we are human. If you are watching this and you feel invisible, if you have been pushed aside by people who are supposed to love you, if you are living with a condition that makes others uncomfortable, please hear me. You matter. Your presence is not an inconvenience. Your existence is not an embarrassment. You have every right to show up, to speak up, to take up space in this world. Do not let anyone convince you otherwise. And if you are someone who has pushed away a loved one because of their illness or their age or their imperfection, it is not too late. It is not too late to choose love, to choose presence, to choose to see the person beyond the diagnosis. Please do not waste the time you have left making someone feel like they should hide. Life is too short. Love is too important. We all deserve to be seen. There is something I need to tell you now. Something I have been holding back because I needed you to understand the full story first. I needed you to feel what I felt, to see what I saw, to walk through that wedding and those meetings and those moments of clarity and confusion with me. But now it is time for the truth, the whole truth. My name is Rose and I do have Alzheimer's. That part is real. The fog, the confusion, the forgetting, all of it is real. But there is something else you need to know about the day of Sarah's wedding. Something I have not told anyone except Michelle. Something that changes everything. When Sarah told me I would embarrass them, when she asked me not to come to her wedding, I was devastated. That part is true, but I was also already planning something. You see, 6 months before that conversation, I had been to a specialist, a doctor who ran extensive tests on my brain, and he told me something that I did not share with my daughters right away. He told me that my Alzheimer's was progressing faster than expected, that within a year, maybe less, I would lose the ability to advocate for myself. I would lose the ability to make decisions about my own care. I would lose the ability to speak up when I was being mistreated or marginalized. He suggested I make plans, legal plans, medical plans, but also personal plans. If there were things I needed to say, relationships I needed to repair, moments I needed to create, I should do them soon, before the disease took my voice entirely. So when Sarah told me to stay away from her wedding, something clicked into place. I realized this was my moment, possibly my last moment, my last chance to teach her something important, my last chance to show her that people with Alzheimer's are not already dead, that we still have thoughts and feelings and dignity, that we deserve to be included in the moments that matter. I knew if I let her exclude me without consequence, I would be giving her permission to erase me for the rest of my life. And when I could no longer speak for myself, when I could no longer fight back, she would put me somewhere out of sight and forget about me. Not maliciously, just conveniently, just because it would be easier than dealing with the embarrassment of a mother who could not remember her own name. So I decided to show up, but not just to exist passively in the back row. I planned it. I coordinated with Michelle without telling her the full plan. I knew there would be a moment for speeches. I knew if I timed it right, I could say what I needed to say in front of everyone. I could force Sarah to confront her shame publicly, to feel the weight of what she had done, to see me, really see me. Was it manipulation? Maybe. Was it fair to use her wedding as the stage for my message? Maybe not. But I was running out of time and running out of options, and I needed her to understand before I lost the ability to make her understand. The speech I gave was not spontaneous. I had written it weeks before. I had practiced it in my mirror every morning, afraid that I would forget the words when the moment came. I had Michelle help me memorize it, though she did not know why. She thought I was just exercising my brain, trying to keep the Alzheimer's at bay. She did not know I was preparing for battle. When I stood up at that microphone and delivered those words, when I saw the shock on Sarah's face and felt the attention of 200 people on me, I felt powerful. For the first time in months, I felt like I had control over something. Like I was not just a passive victim of this disease, but an active participant in my own life. Like I mattered. And it worked. My plan worked. Sarah was forced to confront what she had done. She apologized. She changed. She brought me back into her life. She named her daughter after me. She became the daughter I had always hoped she would be. But here is what I have been afraid to admit, even to myself. Here is the truth that keeps me awake on my clear nights. I do not know if she changed because she genuinely understood what she had done wrong, or if she changed because she was humiliated in front of everyone she was trying to impress. I do not know if her transformation was real or if it was just another performance, another way of managing her image. I want to believe it was real. I want to believe that my speech opened her eyes and touched her heart and made her into a better person. But sometimes when she visits me now, when she brings little Rose and tells me about her life, I see something in her eyes, a flicker of something I cannot quite name. Duty? Obligation? Guilt? Is she here because she wants to be, or because she is afraid of what people will think if she abandons me again? Is she loving me, or performing love for an audience that is still watching? These questions haunt me. They circle in my mind even as other thoughts slip away. And I wonder if my manipulation, my carefully planned confrontation, created something real or just forced her into a new kind of pretending. I wonder if I saved our relationship or just guilted her into maintaining it. Michelle knows about my plan now. I told her eventually, on one of my clear days about a year after the wedding. We were sitting in my garden and I was trying to explain something to her. Something about how I did not know if I had done the right thing. She listened quietly and then she said, "Mom, you did what you had to do. You fought for yourself when no one else would. That is not manipulation. That is survival." "But is it?" I asked her. "Is it survival or is it revenge? Is there a difference when you are desperate?" She did not have an answer. Neither do I. What I do know is this. I am grateful for the time I have had with Sarah these past years. Grateful for little Rose. Grateful that I am not alone, that I am not invisible, that I got to matter in my own life before this disease takes everything. Whether Sarah's change was genuine or forced, it still gave me something valuable. presence, connection, a chance to be a grandmother to my namesake, a chance to feel loved even if that love came wrapped in guilt. Maybe that is enough. Maybe I do not need to know if her transformation was pure. Maybe I just need to accept the gift it gave me and stop questioning its origin. But I still wonder. I still carry the weight of that question. And I wanted you to know the full truth, not just the inspiring story of a woman who stood up for herself, but the complicated, messy reality of a mother who strategically used her daughter's wedding to force a reckoning, who manipulated a situation to get what she needed, who weaponized her own vulnerability. Does that make me a bad person? Does that make my message less true? I do not think so. I think it makes me human. I think it makes me someone who was drowning and grabbed onto whatever she could reach. Someone who was running out of time and refused to go quietly. Someone who fought dirty because she had to, because the stakes were too high, because disappearing was not an option. The Alzheimer's is much worse now. I am having fewer clear days. More often I am lost in confusion, unable to track time or recognize faces or hold on to thoughts. Michelle tells me I repeat myself constantly, that I ask the same questions over and over, that sometimes I think Sarah is still a child, that sometimes I do not know who little Rose is. But apparently, even in my confusion, I still talk about the wedding, still tell people about how I showed up, still insist that I matter. Michelle says it has become my anchor, the one story I hold on to even when everything else slips away, the one memory that stays. And I think that is because it was the moment I chose myself, the moment I refused to be erased, the moment I fought back. That kind of moment leaves a mark deeper than ordinary memories. It carves itself into something more permanent. And even as my brain deteriorates, even as I lose the details and the faces and the timeline, I hold on to that feeling. The feeling of standing at that microphone, the feeling of being seen, the feeling of mattering. I am telling you all of this because I want you to understand something important. When you are living with a disease like Alzheimer's, people start treating you like you are already gone, like you are not a full person anymore, like your thoughts and feelings and needs are less important than the convenience of the people around you. And sometimes you have to fight back in ways that are not polite or easy or comfortable. Sometimes you have to make a scene. Sometimes you have to manipulate a situation to force people to see you. And that is okay. That does not make you a bad person. It makes you someone who is fighting for their humanity, someone who refuses to be reduced to a diagnosis, someone who will do whatever it takes to matter. If you have stayed with me through this whole story, if you have listened to my voice and walked through my confusion and my clarity with me, then I want to ask you something. I want to ask you to be part of this community we have built. This channel exists to share stories like mine, stories of people who are fighting to be seen, to matter, to exist in a world that wants to forget them. Stories of people living with Alzheimer's and dementia and other conditions that society finds uncomfortable. Stories of resilience and complication and messy, imperfect humanity. By subscribing to this channel, you are joining a movement, a community of people who refuse to let anyone be invisible, who believe that every person, regardless of their cognitive ability, deserves dignity and love and presence, who understand that life is complicated, and sometimes we have to fight dirty to survive. Please click that subscribe button right now, not just to support me, but to support everyone who will come after me, everyone who needs to hear that they are not alone, everyone who is terrified of losing themselves and needs to know that they can fight back. Your subscription tells them they matter. It creates a space where these stories can be told, where we can be honest about the hard parts, the manipulative parts, the revenge parts, and still be loved anyway. Please subscribe. Please be part of this. Please help us build a world where no one has to be invisible. Little Rose is 3 years old now. Sometimes when Sarah brings her to visit, I know exactly who she is. I light up and play with her and tell her stories. Other times I look at her like she is a stranger. Sarah tells me it breaks her heart every time I do not recognize my own granddaughter, the little girl I supposedly love more than anything. But here is what Sarah does not understand yet. Even when I do not recognize Rose, even when I cannot remember her name or why she is in my house, I still feel something when I see her, something warm, something important. Love does not disappear just because memory does. It lives in a different place, deeper than names or faces, deeper than the parts of my brain that are dying. And I think little Rose feels it too. Michelle says that Rose never gets upset when I do not know her. She just climbs into my lap anyway and shows me her toys and talks to me like I am the grandmother she knows I am, even if I have temporarily forgotten. Children understand something adults do not. They understand that presence matters more than recognition, that showing up matters more than remembering, that love is bigger than the details. I wish I could know for sure that I will remember her as she grows up, that I will be there for her school plays and birthday parties and important moments with full awareness of who she is and why she matters. But I probably will not be. This disease is relentless. It is taking more of me every day. Soon I will not have any clear days left. Soon I will be completely lost in the fog. But I hope that somewhere deep inside, in that place where love lives beyond memory, I will still know her. I will still feel that warmth. I will still matter to her even if I cannot articulate why. And I hope that Sarah will bring her to visit me even when I no longer recognize anyone, even when I am too far gone to say anything coherent. I hope she will not hide me away in some facility where little Rose never has to see what Alzheimer's really looks like. I hope she will let me be present in my granddaughter's life even in my absence of self. That is the real test. Not whether Sarah includes me now, when I still have moments of clarity, when I can still sometimes be the grandmother everyone wants me to be, but whether she will include me later, when I am embarrassing, when I am difficult, when I am exactly what she was afraid of at her wedding. Will she still choose me then? I do not know the answer to that question. I will not live to know it. My clear days are numbered. Soon I will not be able to write my own story or share my own perspective. Someone else will have to speak for me, and I am terrified that they will get it wrong, that they will make me into a simple, inspiring figure, the brave grandmother who stood up at a wedding, the warrior fighting Alzheimer's, the symbol of dignity and resistance. But I am not just those things. I am also petty and manipulative and scared. I am also angry at my daughter and myself and this disease. I am also full of regrets and doubts and questions I will never answer. I am complicated. I am messy. I am human. And I need you to remember that. When you tell my story after I am gone, please do not sand off the rough edges. Please do not make me into a saint. Tell the whole truth. Tell people that I strategically embarrassed my daughter at her wedding to force her to see me. Tell them that I manipulated situations to get what I needed. Tell them that I do not know if anything I did actually mattered or if I just guilt-tripped my daughter into performing love. Tell them I was desperate and flawed and doing the best I could with the time I had left. That is the story worth telling, not the clean version, the real one. There is one more thing you need to know, one final piece of truth that I have been building toward this entire time, something that changes everything again. After the wedding, after Sarah apologized and promised to change, after little Rose was born and named after me, I had another appointment with my specialist. The doctor who had told me to make my plans, to say what I needed to say while I still could. He ran more tests, more scans. He looked at my brain from every angle, and then he sat me down in his office with a strange expression on his face. "Rose," he said carefully, "I have some confusing news. Your Alzheimer's is not progressing as fast as we thought. In fact, some of your test results have improved, not cured, not reversed, but stabilized in a way we did not expect. It happens sometimes. The disease does not follow a predictable path. You might have more time than we originally projected, more clear days ahead." I sat in that office and felt a wave of emotions I could not name. Relief? Terror? Confusion? Because if I had more time, more clarity ahead of me, then my desperate manipulation at the wedding suddenly looked different. It was not the last stand of a dying mind. It was a choice I made with more capacity than I let anyone believe. I had weaponized my diagnosis. I had used the fear of my impending decline to justify forcing a confrontation, and now I had to live with what I had done, with who I had become. Had I needed to humiliate Sarah publicly? Or could I have handled it differently if I had known I had more time? Could I have had a private conversation, given her space to grow and change without the pressure of an audience? I will never know. And that uncertainty lives inside me like a stone. I did not tell Sarah about the doctor's update right away. I did not tell anyone except Michelle, because I was afraid. Afraid that if Sarah knew my decline had stabilized, she would see my wedding speech differently. She would realize I had been more in control than I let on. She would feel betrayed by my manipulation, and I could not risk losing her again. Not after fighting so hard to get her back. So I kept the secret. I let everyone continue believing that my clear days were rare and temporary, that I was deteriorating rapidly, that every moment with me was precious because I would soon be gone. And Sarah responded to that belief with increased devotion, more visits, more inclusion, more love, or at least the performance of it. I had trapped us both in a lie that made her be the daughter I needed her to be. But at what cost? What was I sacrificing by hiding the truth? What was she sacrificing by loving me under false pretenses? These questions consumed me. They still consume me, because even now, years later, Sarah does not know. She does not know that my Alzheimer's stabilized. She does not know that many of my confused moments are real, but some of them are exaggerated. She does not know that I have been consciously playing into her expectations, being as impaired as she thinks I am, because I am terrified that the truth will make her leave. I have become the manipulator I swore I would never be, the mother who uses guilt and deception to keep her daughter close, and I hate myself for it. But I also cannot stop, because the alternative is being alone again, being invisible again, being forgotten, and I cannot survive that. Not after knowing what it feels like to matter. Michelle knows everything. She is the only one who sees me fully, the clear moments and the confused ones, and the deliberately performed ones. She is the only one I can be honest with, and she is angry with me. Not loud angry, not yelling and fighting, just quietly disappointed. Mom, she says sometimes, you have to tell Sarah the truth. You have to let her make real choices based on real information. She deserves that. I know, I tell her. I know she does, but I cannot. I cannot risk it. What if she leaves? What if knowing I am more capable than I seem makes her decide I do not need her as much as she thought? What if the only reason she is here is because she thinks I am dying? Michelle does not have an answer to that. Neither do I. So the lie continues, and every day it gets heavier. Every visit from Sarah feels tainted by the secret between us. Every moment with little Rose feels stolen. Every expression of love feels conditional on a false narrative I created, and now cannot escape. I thought I was fighting for my dignity when I showed up at that wedding, but maybe I was just starting a different kind of erasure, erasing the parts of myself that are still functional, still capable, still here, replacing them with a version of Rose who is more palatable, more pitiable, more deserving of sympathy. I have become my own ghost. Here is what I need you to understand. When you are living with Alzheimer's, people make assumptions about you. They assume every mistake is the disease, every forgotten name, every repeated question, every moment of confusion. They stop seeing you as a complex person with good days and bad days, with moods and choices and agency. They see you as your diagnosis, only your diagnosis. And sometimes, when you are desperate for connection, for care, for people to take your needs seriously, you let them make those assumptions. You even encourage those assumptions, because being seen as helpless is better than not being seen at all, because being pitied is better than being ignored. But then you get trapped. You become the role you were playing. The lines between real impairment and performed impairment blur. You forget what you actually cannot do versus what you have convinced everyone you cannot do. And you lose yourself in a different way than the disease would take you. You lose yourself by hiding. I am writing this confession now because I do not want to carry this secret anymore, because I need someone to know the whole truth, even if I never find the courage to tell Sarah directly. I need to speak it into existence, to admit that I am not the brave hero of my own story. I am the villain too, the manipulator, the liar, the mother who loves her daughter so much she will deceive her to keep her close. And maybe that is the most human thing about me, not my courage at the wedding, but this desperate, ugly need to be loved, this willingness to sacrifice truth for connection, this fear that if people see me as I really am, capable and strategic and sometimes cruel, they will decide I do not deserve their care. Maybe we are all performing. Maybe everyone living with chronic illness or cognitive decline or any condition that makes others uncomfortable learns to exaggerate their suffering, because that is what earns them compassion. Maybe I am not unique in this deception. Maybe I am just the only one honest enough to admit it. Or maybe I am trying to justify the unjustifiable, trying to make my manipulation sound like a universal truth instead of a personal failing. I do not know anymore. The line between clarity and confusion is not as clear as I thought. Sometimes I imagine telling Sarah everything, sitting her down and saying, I need to confess something. My Alzheimer's stabilized years ago. I have been more aware than you thought. The wedding speech was planned. Many of my confused moments since then have been exaggerated. I have been lying to keep you close because I was terrified you would leave if you knew I was more capable. I imagine her face, the shock, the betrayal, the anger, and then what? Does she forgive me? Does she understand why I did it? Or does she walk away feeling used and manipulated and vindicated in her original instinct to keep me at arm's length? I do not know. And because I do not know, I stay silent. I keep performing. I keep being the version of Rose who needs constant care and sympathy and inclusion. The version who might forget your name but will always love you. The version who is dying slowly enough to be present, but fast enough to be precious. It is exhausting. Maintaining this performance while also managing the real symptoms is exhausting. Some days I genuinely forget things, and I have to convince Michelle it was real, not an act. Other days I pretend to forget and then feel guilty and overcompensate by being too lucid, which makes Sarah suspicious. I am constantly calibrating, constantly calculating, constantly lying. And the worst part is that I do not even know what I am lying for anymore. Is Sarah's increased presence actually making me happy? Or am I just addicted to not being alone? Is this connection real? Or am I just a narcissist who needs attention regardless of how I get it? These questions spiral in my mind, and sometimes the spiral is worse than any confusion the Alzheimer's could create. I thought having more time, more clear days than expected, would be a gift, but it has been a curse, because it has given me enough awareness to see exactly what I am doing wrong, and not enough courage to stop doing it. Michelle thinks I should make another video, a follow-up to the wedding speech, this time telling the truth, all of it, the stabilization, the deception, the complicated, messy reality of loving someone while lying to them. She thinks it would help people, that it would show an even more honest picture of what living with Alzheimer's is really like. Not just the noble fight for dignity, but the ugly compromises we make to survive. The ways we manipulate the people we love because we are terrified of being abandoned. The performance we all engage in to earn the care we need. I am scared to do it. Scared of what it will reveal. Scared of how Sarah will react. Scared that this time my confession will not inspire people but disgust them, because there is something noble about showing up at a wedding uninvited to fight for your right to exist. There is nothing noble about lying to your daughter for years to keep her guilty enough to visit, but maybe that is exactly why I need to do it. Maybe the most important stories are not the inspiring ones. Maybe they are the uncomfortable ones. The ones that show how messy and complicated and morally ambiguous survival really is. The ones that admit we are not always heroes. Sometimes we are just scared people doing questionable things to avoid unbearable loneliness. So I am going to tell you now what I might never have the courage to tell Sarah. I manipulated her. I used my diagnosis as a weapon. I crafted a narrative that made it impossible for her to say no without looking like a monster. And then when I had the chance to be honest, when I learned my condition had stabilized, I chose to keep lying because the lie was working, because the lie gave me what I wanted: love, attention, presence, even if it was all built on guilt and deception. Does that make everything we have built together meaningless? Does it erase the genuine moments we have shared? I do not think so. I think love can exist alongside manipulation. I think people can genuinely care for each other even when the foundation is complicated. But I also think Sarah deserves to know the truth. She deserves to choose whether to love me based on reality, not on the story I have carefully constructed, and I am running out of time to tell her. Not because the Alzheimer's is killing me faster than expected, but because the weight of this secret is crushing me. Because I cannot die with this lie between us. Because she needs to know who I really am before I am gone. The complicated mother, the strategic fighter, the desperate manipulator, all of it. Last week I asked Michelle to help me record a message for Sarah, a video confession that she can give to my daughter after I am gone. After it is too late for Sarah to confront me or ask questions or demand explanations. After I am safely dead and cannot face the consequences of my honesty. Michelle refused. She said, "If you want to tell her while you are alive. Let her respond. Let her feel what she needs to feel. Give her the chance to forgive you or not forgive you while it still matters. Do not drop this bomb on her from beyond the grave. That is the coward's way out. She was right. She is always right. But I am a coward. I have been a coward this entire time, brave enough to show up at a wedding uninvited, but too scared to have an honest conversation with my own daughter, brave enough to give a speech to 200 strangers, but too terrified to admit the truth to the one person who matters most. What does that say about me? What does that say about the message I have been spreading? About dignity and presence and refusing to be invisible? How can I tell other people to fight for their right to be seen when I am hiding the most important parts of myself? How can I claim to want authentic connection when I am building relationships on lies? I am a hypocrite, a fraud, and everyone who has been inspired by my story deserves to know it. But here's the thing about being human. We are all hypocrites. We are all frauds in some way. We all present versions of ourselves that are carefully edited to earn love and approval and belonging. The only difference is that my performance is higher stakes because my diagnosis makes people watch more carefully, makes my every action symbolic, makes my story public. I never asked for that. I never wanted to be an inspiration. I just wanted to matter to my daughter. I just wanted to not disappear. And somehow that private, desperate act became something bigger, became a movement, became a message that thousands of people have attached meaning to. And now I am trapped by their interpretations, trapped by their need for me to be a certain kind of person, the brave Alzheimer's patient who fights for dignity, not the scared, manipulative mother who lies to keep her daughter close. Both of those people are me. Both of them are true. But only one of them is allowed to exist in the public narrative. Only one of them fits the story people want to hear. And I am tired of trying to be just that one version. I am tired of hiding the parts that do not inspire, the parts that are ugly and selfish and wrong. I want to be whole, even if being whole means being unlikable, even if it means losing the support and admiration I have accidentally accumulated, even if it means Sarah walks away forever. So here is what I am going to do. I am going to tell her, tomorrow. I am going to ask her to come over, and I am going to sit her down, and I am going to confess everything. The stabilization, the exaggeration, the years of deception, the fear that drove it all, and I am going to let her react however she needs to react. I am not going to defend myself or make excuses or try to manipulate her into forgiving me. I am just going to tell the truth and then give her space to decide what she wants to do with it. Maybe she will understand. Maybe she will see that my lies came from a place of desperate love. Maybe she will forgive me. Or maybe she will feel betrayed and used and decide she cannot trust me anymore. Maybe she will realize that I am exactly what she thought I was at the wedding. An embarrassment, a problem, someone too complicated to keep in her life. I do not know what will happen, but I know I cannot keep living this lie. I know that whatever time I have left, whether it is months or years, I want to spend it being real, being honest, being all of myself, not just the parts that earn sympathy. That is the real fight for dignity, not the performative speech at a wedding, but this, the daily choice to be truthful, even when the truth is unflattering, even when it costs you everything, even when it means risking the only love you have left. I called Sarah this morning. I told her I needed to talk to her about something important. She sounded worried. Mom, are you okay? Is it your health? Has something happened? Everything is fine, I lied. One more lie before the truth. I just need to see you. Can you come over tomorrow afternoon? She agreed. She said she would bring little Rose. I told her to come alone. That made her more worried, but she did not push. She said she would be here at 2. I have 24 hours to prepare. 24 hours to find the courage to blow up the fragile peace we have built. 24 hours to decide if I am really brave enough to lose everything in the name of honesty. Michelle is proud of me. She hugged me this morning and said, "You are doing the right thing. Whatever happens, you are choosing integrity. That matters." I want to believe her, but I am terrified. Absolutely terrified. What if Sarah cannot forgive me? What if this is the last real conversation we ever have? What if I am trading years of complicated connection for nothing? What if the truth sets no one free and just destroys what little we have managed to build? These questions circle endlessly, but underneath the fear there is something else. Relief. A small, bright thread of relief that soon I will not have to perform anymore. That soon, Sarah will see all of me, the good and the bad, and make a real choice about whether she wants to stay. And whatever she chooses, at least it will be based on truth. At least I will know that if she loves me, she loves the real me, not the carefully crafted version designed to earn her guilt and sympathy. The The real me, manipulative and scared and imperfect, and fighting to matter right up until the end. If you are still watching, still listening to this long, complicated confession, thank you. Thank you for not looking away when the story got messy. Thank you for staying with me through the contradictions and the moral ambiguity and the uncomfortable truths. This is what living with Alzheimer's really looks like. Not just the noble fight, but the desperate compromises, the lies we tell to survive, the ways we weaponize our own vulnerability, the performance we cannot stop performing because we are too afraid of what happens when the curtain falls. I do not know how my conversation with Sarah will go tomorrow. I do not know if our relationship will survive my honesty, but I know I need to try. I need to give her the chance to see me fully and choose me anyway, or not choose me. That is her right, and whatever happens, I will tell you about it. I will come back here and share the outcome because you deserve to know the end of this story. Because maybe my messy, complicated truth will help someone else find the courage to be honest about their own messy, complicated truth. Maybe together we can build a community that does not just celebrate the inspiring moments, but also holds space for the ugly ones, the manipulative ones, the shameful ones, the ones that do not fit neatly into a narrative about dignity and courage. Maybe that is the real revolution, not pretending to be perfect warriors fighting a noble fight, but admitting we are scared humans doing questionable things to avoid unbearable loneliness, and loving each other anyway, choosing each other anyway, showing up anyway, even when the truth makes us look bad, even when honesty costs us everything, even when being real means being unlikable. That is what I am asking you to do. Subscribe to this channel not because I am inspiring, but because I am real. Because I am showing you the whole truth, not just the parts that make me look good. Because I am trusting you to see my failures and my manipulations and my desperate fear, and still believe I deserve dignity, still believe I deserve to be seen, still believe my story matters even when it does not have a clean redemptive arc. Please subscribe. Please be part of a community that embraces complication, that understands survival is not always noble, that knows love and manipulation can exist in the same heart, that refuses to reduce anyone to just their best moments or just their worst ones. We are all both. We are all heroes and villains in our own stories, and we all deserve to be seen fully. Please click that button. Please join us in the mess. Please help us build something honest. It is the afternoon now. Sarah will be here in 2 hours. I have been rehearsing what I will say, writing it down and then crumpling up the paper because it sounds too practiced, too scripted, too much like another performance. I need to just speak from my heart. Just tell her the truth without trying to control how she receives it. Just be honest and then be quiet. Let her have space to feel whatever she needs to feel. Michelle is here with me. She has been sitting in the kitchen drinking tea and giving me encouraging looks. You can do this, she keeps saying. You are strong enough for this. But I do not feel strong. I feel fragile and old and terrified. I feel like I am about to lose the only thing that has made the last few years bearable. My relationship with Sarah, my access to little Rose, my place in their lives. But maybe that place was never real anyway. Maybe I have just been haunting their lives like a ghost, present but not truly seen, included but not truly known. Maybe it is time to either become real or disappear entirely. No more half-existence, no more performance, just truth, just me, whatever that costs. I can hear a car in the driveway. She is here. Sarah is here. My daughter, my complicated, ambitious, image-conscious daughter who I love more than anything, who I manipulated, who I lied to, who I am about to lose or finally truly find. I do not know which, but I am about to find out. I will come back and tell you what happened, I promise. Whether it is good or bad, whether she forgives me or leaves, whether this is the beginning of something real or the end of everything, I will share it with you, because you have walked this whole journey with me, because you deserve to know how it ends, or how it continues, or how it transforms into something I cannot yet imagine. Thank you for listening. Thank you for not looking away. Thank you for seeing me, all of me, even the parts I am ashamed of. You have given me the courage to let Sarah see me too. Whatever happens next, that gift is everything. I have to go now. She is knocking on the door. This is it, the moment of truth, the real fight for dignity, not performed for an audience, just lived, just chosen, just real. Wish me luck, or do not. Maybe I do not deserve luck. Maybe I just deserve whatever honesty brings. But either way, I am walking toward it. I am opening that door. I am letting her in. And then I am going to tell her everything, the whole truth, finally, completely, no matter what it costs. Because that is what love really requires. Not manipulation, not performance, not careful management of someone else's emotions to get what you need. Just truth. Painful, complicated, scary truth. And the courage to face what comes after. I am ready, or I am not ready. But I am doing it anyway. Because I am Rose. And I refuse to be invisible. Even to myself. Especially to myself. I am opening the door now. Sarah sat across from me in my living room looking worried and confused and slightly impatient. She had that look she gets when she is trying to be patient, but has 1,000 other things she needs to do. Mom, she said gently, what is going on? You sounded so serious on the phone. I took a deep breath. I had practiced this moment 100 times in my head, but now that it was here, all my planned words disappeared. So I just started talking, speaking from that raw place where truth lives before we polish it into something presentable. Sarah, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. About my Alzheimer's. About the wedding. About everything since then. She leaned forward, her face shifting into concern. Is it getting worse? Do you need more help? Are you going into a facility? No, I said. That is not it. It is actually the opposite. My condition stabilized years ago, right after your wedding. I have had more clear days, more capacity, more awareness than I have let you believe. I have been exaggerating some of my symptoms, performing confusion sometimes when I was actually lucid. And the wedding speech, the moment you think of as my brave last stand, that was planned, calculated. I manipulated that entire situation to force you to see me, to make you feel guilty, to make you change. The silence that followed felt endless. Sarah's face went through a dozen expressions: confusion, disbelief, understanding, hurt, anger, something else I could not name. You what? She finally whispered. I kept going. I could not stop now. I had to tell her everything. I was terrified you would erase me, terrified that if I let you exclude me from your wedding without fighting back, you would spend the rest of my decline keeping me hidden away. So I showed up and gave that speech and forced you to confront your shame publicly. And it worked. You changed. You brought me back into your life. You named your daughter after me. But then I learned my condition had stabilized and I realized I had more time than I thought, more capacity. And I was terrified that if you knew that, you would leave again. So I kept pretending, kept performing, kept being the version of your mother who needed constant sympathy and care, because I thought that was the only version you would choose to love. Sarah stood up. She walked to the window and stood with her back to me for a long time. When she finally turned around, her face was wet with tears. You manipulated me, she said. Her voice was shaking. You used your disease as a weapon. You humiliated me at my wedding on purpose. You have been lying to me for years, making me feel guilty, making me think you were dying faster than you were, making me organize my entire life around taking care of you when you were more capable than you let on. Do you have any idea how that feels? Yes, I said quietly. I think I do. Because that is how I felt when you told me my Alzheimer's would embarrass you, when you asked me not to come to your wedding, when you erased me from the most important day of your life because I was not convenient anymore. That is how it felt to be reduced to a diagnosis, to be seen as a problem instead of a person, to be loved conditionally based on whether I made your life easier or harder. We stared at each other. Two women who loved each other and hurt each other and did not know how to be honest without weapons. Finally, Sarah spoke again. So none of it was real? All these years of me visiting you, including you, bringing Rose to see you, that was all based on a lie? No, I said. That is not true. Your love was real. My love was real. The moments we shared were real. The foundation was complicated, yes, built on manipulation and guilt. But what grew from that foundation was genuine. At least I think it was. I do not actually know. I do not know if you have been here because you wanted to be or because you felt obligated. I do not know if your transformation was real or if you have just been performing a different role. That is why I am telling you the truth now. Because I need you to make a real choice, based on reality, not based on the story I constructed. Sarah sat back down. She looked exhausted, defeated. Mom, she said, I do not know how to process this. I do not know if I can forgive you. You weaponized the thing I was most ashamed of, my cruelty toward you. You used it to control me for years. That is not love. That is manipulation. You are right, I said. It was manipulation. And I am not asking you to forgive me right now. I am just asking you to know the truth, to have all the information, and then to decide what you want to do with it. If you need to walk away, I understand. If you never want to see me again, I accept that. But I could not die with this lie between us. I could not let you spend the rest of your life thinking you were caring for one version of me when the reality was so much more complicated. She was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, "How much of your confusion is real? How much have you been faking?" "I do not always know anymore," I admitted. "The line has blurred. The Alzheimer's is real. I do forget things. I do have bad days. But I have also exaggerated symptoms sometimes when I was scared of being left alone, or when I wanted more attention, or when I thought confusion would be easier than honesty. It has become automatic, a habit I cannot always control. I have trapped myself in a performance I can no longer fully escape. That is the most honest thing I have said in years." Sarah looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Not anger, not love, something in between, something raw. "You know what the worst part is?" she said. "The worst part is that I understand. I understand why you did it, because I did the same thing to you. I performed the perfect daughter, the successful, ambitious woman who had moved beyond her humble origins. And you did not fit that performance. Your Alzheimer's, your ordinariness, your need for care, it all threatened the image I was trying to project. So I erased you. I chose my image over your humanity. And that was my manipulation, my lie, my sin. So maybe we are both guilty. Maybe we have both been using each other to meet our own needs without being fully honest about what we were doing. Maybe this whole relationship has been two performers trying to manage each other's perceptions instead of just loving each other messily and honestly. Is that what you think?" I asked. "Is that all we have? Just mutual manipulation?" She shook her head. "No, I think underneath all the performance there is real love, real connection. But it has been buried under so much fear and control that neither of us can access it anymore. And I do not know if we can dig it out. I do not know if we can learn to be honest with each other after years of strategic deception. But maybe we can try. Maybe that is what we owe each other. Not forgiveness, not absolution, just the attempt at something real. Even if it is uncomfortable, even if it does not look like the relationship either of us wanted, at least it would be true." We sat together in that living room for 3 more hours, talking, crying, arguing, being silent. It was the most honest conversation we had ever had, neither of us performing, neither of us trying to control the outcome, just two complicated women trying to see each other fully, trying to decide if full sight was something we could survive. Sarah told me about the pressure she felt from her in-laws, the constant judgment, the expectation that she present a certain image. She told me that hiding me felt like survival at the time, that she was not strong enough yet to defend me, to insist on my inclusion, to risk her new family's disapproval. She told me she hated herself for it but did not know how else to be. I told her about the terror of losing my mind, of watching pieces of myself disappear, of feeling invisible even before the diagnosis, of being so desperate for connection that I weaponized my own vulnerability to force her to see me. I told her I was not sorry for showing up at the wedding, that I would do it again, but I was sorry for the years of deception after, for not giving her the chance to choose me based on truth. We did not resolve everything. We did not fix years of hurt in one afternoon, but we started. We cracked open the door to something more honest, something harder but more real. When Sarah finally left, she hugged me at the door. Not the careful, obligatory hug she had been giving me for years, but a real hug. Long and tight and full of all the complicated feelings between us. "I do not know what happens next," she said. "I do not know if I can trust you again, if I can trust myself, but I am willing to try. I am willing to see if we can build something real out of this mess. That is all I can offer right now. That is enough," I told her. "That is more than enough." After she left, I sat with Michelle and told her everything, every word of the conversation, every expression on Sarah's face, every moment of painful honesty. "How do you feel?" Michelle asked me. "Lighter?" I said. "Terrified, but lighter. Like I can finally breathe fully. Like I do not have to hold myself so carefully anymore. Whatever happens with Sarah now, at least it will be real. At least I will know." Michelle smiled. "I am proud of you," she said. That took more courage than the wedding speech, than any speech. Real intimacy always does. We sat together in comfortable silence, two sisters who had always seen each other fully, who had never needed to perform, and I felt grateful for her, grateful that I had at least one relationship built on complete honesty, one person who knew all of me and loved me anyway. It gave me hope that maybe Sarah and I could get there too. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but eventually. If we kept choosing truth over comfort, if we kept showing up even when it was hard, if we kept trying to see each other beyond the roles we had been playing. That night, I recorded another message, not for Sarah, for you, for everyone who has been following this story. I told the whole truth about the manipulation, about the stabilization, about the years of deception, about the painful conversation with Sarah, all of it. No filters, no performing, just raw honesty about the messy, complicated reality of love and illness and survival. I do not know if this message will inspire anyone. It might do the opposite. It might make people angry, might make them feel deceived, might make them question everything I have said before, but I think it is important to tell anyway. Because the truth about living with Alzheimer's is not just about fighting for dignity, it is also about the ways we compromise that dignity ourselves, the ways we use our illness strategically, the ways we manipulate the people we love because we are terrified of being alone. That is part of the story too, and it deserves to be told. So here is my final message to you. Life with Alzheimer's is complicated, morally ambiguous, full of impossible choices and uncomfortable truths. You will not always be noble. You will not always fight the good fight. Sometimes you will lie. Sometimes you will manipulate. Sometimes you will weaponize your own vulnerability because that is the only power you have left. And that is okay. That does not make you a bad person. It makes you human. It makes you someone doing whatever it takes to survive, to matter, to not disappear. The important thing is to recognize when you are doing it, to not lie to yourself even if you are lying to everyone else, and when you are brave enough to tell the truth, to let people see all of you, to risk losing everything in exchange for something real. That is the real fight for dignity, not the performative moments, but the quiet choice to be honest even when dishonesty would be easier, even when the truth makes you look bad, even when being real costs you the love you have been desperately trying to hold on to. I do not know how my story ends. I do not know if Sarah and I will find our way to real connection or if the weight of our mutual manipulation will be too much to overcome. I do not know if my Alzheimer's will stay stabilized or suddenly accelerate. I do not know if I will get to watch little Rose grow up or if I will forget her before she is old enough to remember me. But I know I am done performing. I am done hiding. I am done being anything other than completely myself, messy and flawed and real. And I am inviting you to do the same. Stop performing the perfect patient, the inspiring warrior, the dignified sufferer. Be complicated instead. Be honest about your manipulations and your fears and your ugly survival strategies. Be real even when real is not pretty. And find people who can hold that reality with you, who can see your whole truth and stay anyway. That is what community really means. Not gathering around shared inspiration, but gathering around shared honesty, shared mess, shared humanity in all its uncomfortable glory. Please subscribe to this channel if you want to be part of that kind of community. If you want to see the whole truth of what living with Alzheimer's looks like, not just the highlights, the full, complicated story, and please share your own truth in the comments. Tell us about your manipulations, your fears, your ugly survival strategies. Let us hold each other in our full humanity. Let us refuse to be invisible, but also refuse to be anything other than exactly who we are. Flawed, fighting, real. That is my invitation. That is my final message. Take it or leave it. But know that either way, I am here, fully, completely, honestly, for whatever time I have left, and I refuse to apologize for any of it. The courage and the cowardice, the speeches and the lies, the love and the manipulation, all of it is me. All of it is my story, and I am claiming every complicated piece of it. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Thank you for seeing me, all of me, even the parts I am not proud of. You have given me something precious, the courage to be real. I hope I have given you the same. Now go be messy, be honest, be fully yourself, and know that you are not alone in the complication. We are all here, together, refusing to disappear, refusing to perform, just being, just existing, just real. That is enough. You are enough, exactly as you are.